Joy Matara, sir.
Jai Matara.
Thank you so much for making time. There's a lot of sound, noise pollution, and a lot of things happening on social media about Ranbir Alawadia, this controversy. Um, so I've got a few questions here, sir. Thank you very much again for your time. So moving on very quickly to the issues that I've taken bits and pieces from social media.
Mhm.
People are asking, is Ranveer your shishya?
Okay, so thank you for having this conversation, and Jai Bhairava, Jai Matara, Jai Makamakya. It also gives me an opportunity to clarify certain ideas that people have. So I don't have any shishyas. Okay, I never had. At this till now, I don't have. In future, I cannot say. But then it depends on if I ever get an inspiration to have shishyas. Then, but no, I don't. At this moment, I don't have any shishyas. So Ranveer is not a shishya. So I meet him maybe once a year. When I have to shoot certain recordings, maybe for 2 to 3 days at the max, and then
Okay.
I'm hardly in touch with him. Uh, the sadhanas that I tell people to do, there are thousands of people who do those sadhanas, and it's been almost 3 years now, which where I've been in public, and even before that, there are people who have been doing it.
Ji, sir.
So these are basically things which are very generic, which can be done by just about anybody with a certain degree of faith and shraddha. Shraddha is the right word on the process, and so does that make them my disciple? I don't know. I don't like to use the word guru and disciple. Those are heavy words. There are a lot of responsibilities. The reason I say that is because so in these 3 years there are thousands and thousands who have done this. I get innumerable emails from people doing that. Uh, so I am not going to spoon feed or what is that guy doing from morning till evening, whom are you meeting, what are you talking about, how is your, are you paying
Ji,
your
sir.
taxes? That's not my responsibility. You are an adult, you have to use your mind, man, buddhi, etc., that nature has given you. You do accordingly. At the max, I will give you those sadhanas which in the context of the times is going to uplift your consciousness. Rest you practice, you follow the discipline, that's it, which is precisely why I don't call myself a guru. So in this framework, Ranveer is one of the people among the thousands of people who perhaps does some amount of those sadhanas. Whether he does the full thing or not, no. Even the full thing is not done because I have a team which guides people who are more dedicatedly connected to the sadhanas. So we do certain Vishesh upasanas on certain days of
Ji, sir.
different deities. And in that, there is Ranveer is not connected to that. Pretty much many other people are not connected to that, which is okay. So to clarify, yes, the last time I'd met him was um, probably 6-7 months ago, last year, somewhere for a shoot. After that, I have been busy with my creation of the Bhairava temples, roaming around. So it's not something that I am in close contact with him. So let this be no doubt about this, that yes, he does some sadhanas, but he is not a disciple. No one is a disciple.
Ji, sir. Sir, if I may ask, आपका क्या take है on this controversy? Like
Right.
everybody is asking on social media. I was just going through
Mhm.
that. Sir, कुछ बोलिए, sir, कुछ बोलिए. So
Right. The first thing is that there is, let's say that there is no doubt that it is disappointing. Okay, so it's disappointing at multiple levels. It's disappointing because if you have been instrumental as a public figure in somehow or the other resurfacing an interest in deity upasanas, in dharma and sanatana dharma across the land, so there is a responsibility that you bear, and you cannot bear that very lightly. You cannot behave in the manner, you cannot speak in the manner, you cannot be not conscious of who you are and where you are and whom you associate with. These are part of the process. So yes, there is no doubt that there is a certain degree of disappointment in the behavior, and let's mince no words about it. It's a terrible it's very crass. I had seen the clip. It's extremely crass, and that's perhaps maybe uh, you know teenager or pre-teenage boys speak like that. It's not expected of somebody who has a certain a certain degree of expected, if they have that maturity, that age, etc. But one more thing I would like to say, that speaking of disappointments, right from the time when I entered into the spiritual field, very quickly I saw all sorts of behavior of all sorts of people, even those who appear as gurus and people who come in certain religious garbs, wearing certain dresses with certain titles. And what I figured very quickly, and I am immensely grateful to Ma Kamakhya for having put me through those experiences where I realized that everybody has a shadow. Some people hide the shadow. Some people are foolish enough to go into some show and make a fool out of themselves and make their shadow public, but everybody has a shadow. Which is why, right from day one, if I'm guiding somebody properly, like the core group of people whom I guide them over the years, I tell them that have less faith on human beings, have more faith on the deities. If you do that, you're safe. Human beings are going to disappoint you. Aaj nahi to kal kabhi na kabhi hone wala hai. It has happened for 5,000 years. It's going to happen for the next 5,000 years. And there is no way you can escape this, because the condition of the human consciousness is flawed and ignorant. Pehla cheez, the quicker you realize that, the safer you are from disappointments. So I'm disappointed with what Ranveer did, but I have seen much greater disappointments from people who came with a much larger aura and pretension of grandeur and guruhood and whatever, etc., until I found what all dark shadows they carry along with themselves. So yeah, it's disappointing, but that's how life is.
Such is life. Another question, there seemed to be a very small population, very tiny, but I still want to run this question by
Yes,
you since we are
please.
here. And that is, we've got this beautiful Bhairav Baba sitting here. People have said, is this controversy somewhere related to Bhairav Japa?
Okay, so good.
Correlation kya hai, sir?
Right. Good that you asked. So first of all, let me say that anybody who thinks that specific kind of disappointment or any trouble in life or any kind of difficulty, कोई भी आप साधना कर रहे हो, भैरव साधना कर रहे हो, किसी का भी साधना कर रहे हो, उसके लिए हो रहा है, तो पहला चीज़ है कि आपका माइंड में देयर इज दिस इटसेल्फ इज द रूट ऑफ सुपरस्टिशन. इसी को कहते हैं सुपरस्टिशन. ठीक है, क्योंकि यू डोंट हैव एनी रीजन टू बिलीव दैट, बट यू डू बिकॉज योर माइंड इज ग्रिप्ड विद अ सर्टन डिग्री ऑफ फियर कि कहीं ना कहीं आप इस बात में आते हो ये सोच के कि नहीं मेरा सब कुछ अच्छा होने वाला है. सबका तो 24/7 365 days a year for 50-60 years all the time अच्छा कभी हो ही नहीं सकता है. I mean, it reminds me when I was in Mumbai, there used to be a gentleman who lived close by. He was a very good Vedic scholar and Pandit, and he knew the Gita by heart, 700 verses by heart. Beautifully used to recite. People used to come to him for all kinds of Vedic yajnas and all that. And then suddenly, some disappointment hit his life, personal life, and it turned so painful and difficult that दुनिया में शायद ऐसा कोई मंदिर नहीं है, ऐसा कोई दरगाह नहीं है जहाँ पे वो नहीं गया. Here's the guy who knows the Vedas, who actually knows the Gitas, and people used to look up to him. Should I have concluded from it that the Vedic verses and the Gita does not work? That's why he's suffered that. That would be stupid to do. If you do that, it's stupid. So this fellow, so Ranveer, let's specifically talk about him.
Yes.
To my knowledge, he started doing Bhairava Japa. It's been 3 years now. In 3 years, actually what has happened is that his name, fame, position, power, etc., all things have increased, shot up, right? If there used to be at all, let's assume for a moment that there is some problem with it, then something would have happened maybe immediately, something would have happened right at the beginning. So all these positive things are cancelled out, but 3 साल बाद एक नेगेटिव है, 300 साल बाद भी नेगेटिव हो सकता है. उसका मतलब थोड़ी है कि आपके जब के लिए हुआ है.
There's a small population, like just very few, and I didn't really catch the drift why they would even suggest that, because it's very surprising.
My suggestion is, my idea is, I've seen that two ideas are there. One is that there is a certain degree of people who approach upasanas with the idea of there is a constant material gain that has to come. That's not the right way, and that does not, and I mean, for a moment let's assume, I mean, from the internet and all that, there is very famous Vaishnava sampradayas who do a lot of the Mahamantra. Now I am not vouching for the veracity or otherwise of it, but if you do a Google, there are so many other stories that come out, so many other scandals and things like that, negative, positive, itne sare aate hain. So should we then conclude it's because you are taking Krishna's name, that is why all these things are happening?
Nahin.
That would be absolutely stupid and superstitious. So my point is, anybody who approaches sadhana with this kind of a superstitious mindset is going to get disappointed someday or the other. It's not about this happened to Ranveer, that happened to myself, tomorrow that. So you have this weakness in the mind that you assume that because I'm worshipping a deity, so never is going to any negative thing happen. ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता है. In fact, in the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is one of the most crest jewels of Dharma, which is one of the Bhagavad Purana, in the 10th canto, where we have the biography or the story of Bhagavan Krishna coming up, he says a very beautiful thing, that when he decides to take somebody to the highest realms, the first thing he does is remove everything from that person. So there is going to be absolute material negative onslaught on the individual when nature decides that you have to be taken higher up. Why? That is because the human ego is flawed. It is always flawed. It does not matter आप बैठ के 5 घंटा मंत्र जप कर रहे हो, 10 घंटा, 20 घंटा. Till the time the consciousness changes, and the change of consciousness is not so easy. If it changes, then you become a saint. Saint is लाखों करोड़ों उपासक में 0.1% of the capacity to become a saint. Then the consciousness has changed. Others are trying to change themselves. When that happens, before that happens, the divine, in the form of whether it's Bhairava, whether it's Krishna, whether it's Durga, whether it's Hanuman, whether it's Ganesha, is going to rip apart everything from your ego, so that you are ready to be rebuilt from scratch. Only then you can be divine. And this is, mind you, the sweetest of deities saying that I'm going to destroy everything when I decide that I have to take you up. So by that logic, you should, if you're scared कि मुझे मटेरियल गड़बड़ हो सकता है, या क्यों मैं ये जब कर रहा हूँ, मेरे को ये क्यों, तो मत करो. कोई बोला थोड़ी है तुमको करने का, जबरदस्ती नहीं है.
Sir, it's a very tiny population. I personally, I don't know, I could be wrong. मुझे लगा that there was just an element of jealousy. So I think वो बात
Jealousy is a very human factor.
Yes.
So whenever a person is in the limelight, in fact, it's, now you mention it, it's very interesting. 7 months ago, when I had last met Ranveer, 7 months perhaps, around that time, I say during a conversation of a recording, I had told him that, when you are in the limelight, so 20% people are going to hate you. That's the nature of limelight. Okay, there's nothing anybody can do about it. And of that 20%, there will be 10 to 15% who will be so jealous and envious that they will go to the extent of trying prayogas on you. And that is the way the world is. There's no point pretending to be a turtle or getting your head inside your shell and believing that सब अच्छा नहीं है. दुनिया ऐसा है. दुनिया है ऐसा. तुम अब, if you're smart enough, you take precautions for it. If you're not, you don't. And I don't spoon feed people. I'll just tell you up till this point. I have told various people. So I myself know, because I have faced various kinds of attacks from people over the last 1.5 years, especially when the Kamakhya case started.
Oh, yes.
So that's why I keep myself. Why do you think I go to Tarapit so often? She's the one with the kharga that protects me from all sorts of ये हाँ दुनिया का कोई भी कुछ है सबको. She's not only protects me, and she gives it back to them with double and triple interest. So my point is, if you are in a public life, let's be very smart. And if you're doing all these kinds of podcasts, you're meeting with important ministers and this and that, there is a very vicious form of jealousy that will come from people. And that jealousy is also a part of that hatred and anger that he's facing. It's coming out in the self-righteousness that you see, self-righteous hatred. Part of it is because of jealousy and envy. So if you had not protected yourself, and mind you, nature gives you a certain degree of wisdom, certain mind, body, a rationality to think. There is no spoon feeding in nature. So if you go on top of a mountain and shout that why am I getting screwed, nature is not going to answer that.
No, sir.
Unless you actually work hard towards it. If you work hard, then nature will come to your door and tell you कि ये चीज change करना है. So there is a self effort and responsibility. You have to be responsible. You have to think why you are here, what you are doing, what role you have been giving, what you should avoid and what you should. Yama and niyama. Yama and niyama involves company also. That's very important. That's what got him into the trouble. You have to know which company to be in, which company to avoid. If that judgment is somewhere wrong, and there is a sense of overconfidence, let's put it this way. If you have been successful in something, you get a little overconfident. It's just a time when nature will pull the rug from under your feet to give you a reality check. Okay. No reality check is bad. If you have the right attitude, you can climb from any depth. Anybody can do that. I have faced various kinds of issues in life. And anybody says that मैं साधना करता हूँ और कभी लाइफ में कुछ प्रॉब्लम हुआ नहीं है, तो 100% झूठ बोल रहा है. हो ही नहीं सकता है. It's impossible. I mean, the greatest of saints, if you read the biographies, have faced so many difficulties. So why should you and I not face difficulties?
So yours was a bit different, of course, bit nahi, completely different because you had purposes and goals, and there were people trying to stop you, and we've seen the videos and the phases. But
Yeah.
moving on, people are asking again, bits and pieces again. Would you be associating with Ranveer in the future?
First thing is that before answering this question, let me say that he has to self-reflect at the moment. He has to. This is a good opportunity. As I say, there is no mistake, no error from which a person cannot recover, provided he acknowledges that there is some change that is needed. In doing so, you go inwards, you work on your own consciousness, you work on your own sadhana, you apologize to the deity, because remember, at the end of the day, it is only the deity's judgment that is important. Dunya ka judgment mein koi matlab nahi hai. It's absolutely useless. People who judge, people who are judged, both of them are ignorant. It's only the deity's judgment that is important. See, why I say this, and I'm talking from my perspective.
Ji sir.
When I had to give an example, when I started the Kamakya case, pretty much everybody around me, first of all, left me, and then they told me कि ये हो नहीं सकता, ये बकवास है. They tried everything to stop me. If I was so bothered about what people were saying, then the case would not have happened. But today, after 1 year, what has happened is that the government has been forced to acknowledge, due to the verdict of the Honorable High Courts, that there is a certain stream of water which is sacred, which means that every plan they had made had to be redone. And they are doing that, which is precisely the point which I had when the case started, that this place, Kshetra, needs to be protected. You cannot just bulldoze into it and do things. Okay. My point is, that time there was a tremendous amount of opposition, tremendous amount of people who said that nahi karna hai, and I know all sorts of characters, some of them pretending to be spiritual, by the way, who had never even stepped into Kamakya, were like giving running commentaries to delude people that nahi ye bahut acha cheez ho raha hai, ye bahut badhiya ho raha hai. That's because they thought that they'll get some advantages from governments and government agents and all that. So that's a greater hypocrisy than any foolishness this fellow has done, if you ask me. It's 100 times more hypocrisy. But then
yes.
we are a country of hypocrites. So a person who makes a mistake, person who says something terrible, for example, like this guy said, if you realize it, if you apologize to the deity, if you work hard on yourself, you can recover. But if you're a hypocrite, you can never recover. You will never recover in 1,000 years. You are doomed till eternity, because you are a hypocrite. You lie to yourself. Somebody who lies to himself kills his own self. One who kills his own self will never recover.
So you had once mentioned in your podcast that if you lie to yourself, you will never get Bhairava.
Never get anybody. It's very easy to lie to oneself. To nature, you cannot lie. Nature can see through who you are and what you do, and nature can see what kind of a shadow you carry. Okay, what is who you are, what mistakes you do in public, and what mistakes you do in private, and how you pretend to be what you are not. It's only nature who knows, and the right time will give you with interest it will come to you. This is the first law of nature. So coming to the question, let a time period pass for him to recover from this, to change himself if he can. Number one point. Number two, at this moment, even without this controversy breaking out, I did not have any specific intent of going there, because my focus over the last 6 months have been in creation of the Bhairava temples, for which I've been traveling to South, to Gujarat, Tarapet and various other places, collecting resources, talking to the architects and all that. At the same time, remember one thing, that an individual with a platform is just a medium. Okay, a medium does not determine whether the message that is passed across right, wrong, or anything for that matter. A medium is just a medium. Nature can use anybody as a medium to do its bidding, what it wants to be done. It can pick up any individual from anywhere, because only nature knows that what you did in your past lives, what are the samskaras you carry, and where are you going. Nobody else knows that. So nature can pick any individual. Let's give an example here for people to understand. So if you read the Ramayana, that's a very common example. So today we live in a time where Ravana is eulogized as somebody great. But if you read the Ramayana, he is defined very categorically as a serial rapist. Okay, a man who is greatly knowledgeable, but of the worst moral character. You cannot have a worse character than this. See, he goes and kidnaps somebody else's wife. And then he has been doing all these things for a long time. So he's a man of the lowest moral character. There is no doubt about it, to the extent that we celebrate the death of Ravana till today. And yet it is the same Ravana who composed the Shiva Tandav Stotra, which is played in Kashi even now. So my question is that if you are so righteous, you should stop playing that. So if a corrupt instrument, and no instrument is perfect, by the way, if a corrupt instrument says 2 plus 2 equal to 4, it does not mean that 2 plus 2 4 becomes invalid. In spite of that, I understand that this has been a very traumatic, emotionally difficult period for a lot of people, and I empathize with that. I understand that. I have been through a very lot of ups and downs, so it's kind of let's say that I have the ability to digest a lot of things which many people cannot. And so there's no pressure for them that they should associate with this individual. They're perfectly free not to do so, so far as I am concerned. But this in no way reflects on the sadhana. This in no way reflects on the knowledge transmission that happened through the many spiritual people who came there. I mean, it's you have to be absolutely ridiculous and devoid of any rationality to believe that the other great spiritual people, or whatever knowledge transference that happened there, becomes invalidated just because he makes a stupid and absolutely crass kind of an error. So these two are separate issues, I think. At the end, I feel that we will pass through very difficult times in the coming 3 years. Each individual should focus on their own sadhana and develop themselves, because today it is with that guy, tomorrow it could be with you, it could be with anybody. Nature is the best accountant. Nature knows what shadows you carry. Nature knows who makes a fool out of himself in a far graver crime in the privacy of his life and then pretends to be somebody great. Nature is aware कि किसको कहाँ पे गिराना है, and everybody will be accounted for everything. Nobody escapes. So focus on oneself, develop oneself, have faith on Bhairava, do more japa of Bhairava. He is the deity who can, if anybody at all, he is the one who can pick you up from a drain and put you and make you into a saint. He is the one who can go down right into hell and pick you up from there.
Sir, he's done that to so many of us.
Yeah, I know that it's
beyond. There are some people who have said, I read about a few of them, that old videos remove kar dijiye.
नहीं उसका तो सवाल ही नहीं पैदा होता. Same the logic that I said.
Logic, yeah.
So I mean, why do you play the Shiva Tandav Stotra till now if it's composed by Ravana? Okay, every day, and that's not just a day that goes in Kashi without that being blared out of the air, and people feel very devotional upsurge, which is natural. So the transmission of knowledge is perfectly valid even if the instrument is imperfect. That is because if you look at from a very transcendental point of view, there is no perfect instrument. Then everybody should take moan breath. That is not going to happen. So therefore, there will be imperfect instruments. The world is imperfect. Even then, through these imperfections, we become more realistic and we develop a devotion towards the deities more than human beings. This is the incident of all things. And I've told this many times to people, even during various recordings of podcasts and all that. Start to develop faith on deities more than on human beings. Deities, if you come close to them, they will not disappoint you. Human beings, one day or the other, they'll disappoint you. That's taken for granted, because humans are weak, we are frail. Every human being is ignorant, somewhere or the other. Everybody is a pretender, which is a greater crime than any kind of third-class joke that you may say. So if you are a pretender, one day or the other, nature is going to come with this balance sheet and take your skin alive. Yeah. Whether somebody is there to cheer or whether somebody is there to support you, at least if you fall, and if you are penitent, if your consciousness is clear, and if you're repentant, you have a chance to go up. We have so many examples in Dharma of people who have done far greater crimes and then transformed themselves. There is nothing called a permanent. Ours is not religion which says that you are permanently barred from anything. You can fall and there is no depth from which you can rise up, because every saint has a past, as they say, and every sinner has a future.
All these questions, the questions that most of us have had, you've clarified them beautifully, sir. It's just that people love Ranveer to a great extent. They want to forgive. I think the youngsters mostly, they're like, Ranveer Bhaiya. I think they are very disappointed, as you said. And how would you advise all of us to just handle this issue, this emotional उसने ऐसे कहा कैसे कह सकता है, this whole emotional outburst? How can we just be a little more steady and cool?
No, so it's good. No, that's a reality check. The best way you grow up mature is that the quicker nature gives you reality checks. So it comes to the same point. You focus on your sadhana, okay? You realize that people are flawed. Everybody is flawed. Everybody is an instrument, number one. Let me also take this opportunity to say that the reaction that he faced, obviously he did not expect it. The drumming down, the various kinds of cancellations or whatever else has happened, that is, I'm sure, I saw the the apology video and etc. It takes a toll. It takes a toll on anybody for that matter. But the later hounding that he's facing is completely irrational and makes zero sense. There is not a single person who has not made mistakes, and this is when the emotions cool down. 1 month, 2 months down the line, when you look at this, you'll see, okay, he made a terrible mistake. He made a fool out of himself. He's a bigger fool than anybody I know of. But is it really a murder? Is it really a great crime? I mean, look at the amount of things that are happening in Parliament and other places.
There's more rubbish
Yeah,
content on
yeah.
social media.
And instead of all that, there are, like, I don't know how many states have filed FIR. This is a dark comedy, if you ask me. This is a greater dark comedy than anything I've seen.
We're all very surprised. I mean,
This makes no sense to anybody. And today they go after him, tomorrow they'll come after you, tomorrow they can come after anybody. Because when the state decides that it wants to put you in jail, it'll try and do everything it can within its power. So the public reaction to what he said when the video came out is justified. The backlash is justified. People unfollowing him is justified. But putting him in jail for a bad joke, that must be the biggest dark comedy that is there in Kali Yuga. And that shows that the rot in this country is far deeper, whatever nonsense it is.
wow. That's a lot of truth. That's a lot of information. Lots of advice, sir, to digest.
No, it's good. I wanted to have these conversations.
Anything
And
that you would like to add that I've missed out?
no, I think we kind of covered everything.
Yes.
But the whole point is that focus on self-development, focus on the deities, develop. The key thing is that you develop a greater contact with Bhairava, because he is the one who's going to, the more you do sadhana, he is going to remove your karmas slowly and make you more steadier in your mind and heart. And a deity is somebody who doesn't give up, who doesn't leave your hand even after your death. If your friends will go, your wife, your children, your father, mother, everybody can go. And social media influencers, they definitely can go. But a deity doesn't go. That is the whole point of sadhana. You reach a point of contact with the deity. Your love for the deity becomes so intense, and the deity's love for you becomes so intense, that even if the world ditches you, he or she is not going to leave you. That is the true essence of the spiritual path. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for just sharing these information. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And Jai Mata Ra.
Jai Mata Ra, Jai Bhairava Baba, Jai Mata Ra.
Baba, Jai
Namaste.
Bhairava.